We take a moment to pause and listen to our breath. We also listen to our body. Listen to how it relaxes on the floor. Noticing when our mind begins to drift off into thought. And when we notice that, just rein it back in, refocusing on our breath, our body. And keeping our eyes closed, let's begin to roll out our wrists. Just finding some gentle movement. Begin to lift our elbows off the floor, allowing the movement to spread into our elbows. And then reverse the movement, including our elbows, our wrists. Maybe begin to extend and curl our fingers. And then putting our arms back on the floor. We're going to do the same thing with our feet. Just start with our ankles, finding some movement, rolling them out. And then reverse the direction of the roll. And bending our knees. Draw our knees into our chest, give them a hug. And then rock side to side, massaging out the back of our body. Coming back to center, let's place our hands on our knees and then draw our arms forward, extending them out. Knees come forward, take our knees wide, bring them into our shoulders, and then make circles going in the opposite direction with our legs. And then bringing our knees into our chest, we're going to reverse the direction. And then bringing our knees into our chest, releasing our feet down to the mat. Arms come to our side. On our next inhale, let's lift our hips and our arms. Draw our arms back behind us. And then exhale, bringing everything back down. Inhaling, lifting, arms come back behind us. Hips lift. Exhale, lower down. Inhaling, lifting, rolling to the top of our shoulders. Exhaling, coming back down. As we lift and lower, notice that our spine stays neutral through our movement. So we're not rounding, we're not rolling our spine, we're keeping it stable as we lift and lower. Blow a couple more times. And then lower down after we finish this one. And we're gonna lift our feet up one at a time. Stack our knees over the top of our hips. Shins are parallel to the ceiling. And then we're gonna open up our arms out like wings. And we're gonna find some movement rocking side to side, keeping our belly hugged in. Let our knees come over to the right, halfway. And then come back up. Knees to the left, halfway. Come back up. Knees to the right. We're gonna stick with a halfway a couple times. Now I want you to make sure that your knees are staying hip width distance apart. Your feet are not touching. Moving from mid back up. Staying stable and strong through our low back region. So behind the belly button. And then an option to take it 3/4 of the way down. Option to bring our legs down to hover. Attempting to keep our shoulders on the floor. And then come back up and center after you finish both sides evenly. And draw our knees into our chest and give them a hug. Taking a moment to pause. And reach our feet up to the ceiling. Hands come to the back of our legs. Lift our hips up and then rock forward and back without letting our feet touch the ground. Moving slowly. Trying not to use momentum, but rather using stability and strength. It's okay if you don't make it all the way up. Let's find one more time. Meet up in a seated position, cross-legged, sitting up tall, finding our shoulders over our hips, ribs hugged in, and then hinge forward from our hips. Take our fingertips to the floor, moving with a flat back so that we're moving from our hips and not our spine. Then come back up, switch the cross of our legs. Start with a tall spine, ribs hugged in, shoulders relaxed down. Then hinge forward from our hips, keeping a flat back. And slowly come up. We're going to bring our feet out in front of us and then walk them out wide. Lift our hands up so that we're not using our arms for this movement. And you may travel. So if you're already at the front of your mat, you may want to move back a little bit. We're going to lower our knees over to one side, lift them up, and lower them to the other. Just continuing to rock our knees side to side. If you run out of mat or you come off of your mat, just scoot back. And one more time each side. And then we're going to come back up and then come to a standing position at the front of our mat. From our standing position, let's inhale, sweep our hands up to the ceiling. Exhale, bend our knees, hinge forward from our hips and fold. Let our head hang, neck and shoulders relax. Then inhale, lift up halfway. Exhale, fold. Walk both feet back, plank. Lower all the way down. Inhale, cobra, opening our heart. Exhale, downward facing dog. Walking forward, front of our mat. And fold. Inhale, lift halfway. Exhale, fold. Bend our knees, rise all the way up. Hands come to heart center. Inhale, sweep up. Exhale, fold. Inhale, walk back. Exhale, lower down. Inhale, cobra, opening our heart. Exhale, downward facing dog. From downward facing dog, let's walk our hands back to meet our feet so that we're standing at the back of our mat. Then bend our knees, lift our chest, sweep all the way up. Hands come to heart center. We're going to grab a hold of one of our yoga blocks and we're going to place it between our thighs as we keep our feet hip width distance apart. So you're going to place the block anywhere in your upper leg or even lower leg if you like, so that you can keep your feet hip width distance apart and honor the space at your hips. Then on our next inhale, sweep our hands up. Exhale, bend our knees, hinge forward from our hips and fold. Walk our hands forward. Try not to move your hips side to side. Come to plank pose. Then lower all the way down. Inhale, cobra, still holding onto that block. And we're not giving it a death squeeze, just holding onto it lightly. And then lowering down, hug our bellies in, press up and back to downward facing dog. Notice when you begin to squeeze the block a lot or when you're able to hold onto it lightly. Then lift our chest, walk our hands back. Doesn't have to be big walk, it can be a little one. Folding at the back of our mat. Bend our knees, take our gaze forward, rise all the way up. Hands come to heart center. Inhale, sweep up. Exhale, bend our knees and fold. Walk our hands forward. Lower all the way down. Cobra, opening our heart. Downward facing dog. Walk our hands back. Bending our knees, rise up. On our next exhale, chair, sink our hips back. Inhale, sweep up. Exhale, hands to heart center. So I want you to take a moment to reflect on how you hold on to your block as we move forward one more time, right? We're just noticing. Inhale, sweep our hands up. Exhale, fold. Inhale, walk forward slowly. Listen to how you hold on to your block. Lower all the way down. And cobra, opening our heart. Come down, hug our bellies in, press up and back. And walk forward back to the back of our mat. Bend our knees, rise all the way up. Hands to heart center. Now I want you to make any adjustments with your block, whether you need to move it up, whether you need to take it wider, whatever you need, so that you can keep your feet and knees and hips aligned. So if you had your block narrow and you're collapsing your knees in, I want you to take the block wider or move it up your thighs a little bit more. If you're moving it up, make sure you adjust your feet so that your feet are still staying in line with knees and hips. So those are just options. On our next inhale, sweep our hands up. Exhale, fold. Inhale, walk forward. Exhale, lower down. Inhale, cobra, opening our heart. Exhale, downward facing dog. Walk our hands back, folding at the back of our mat. Bend our knees, rise all the way up. Hands come to heart center. Noticing if any changes we made with our block felt better or worse. We're going to do it one more time. Inhale, sweep up. Exhale, fold. Walk forward. And lower down. Cobra, opening our heart. Exhale, downward facing dog. Walk back. Bending our knees. Rise up. Hands to heart center. Releasing the block, place it off to the side. Step forward to the front of our mat. Inhale, sweep up. Exhale, fold. Step our right foot back halfway. We're going to set up for pyramid pose. So if you need blocks, you can use them in this part of your practice. Otherwise, we're just holding without one. Straighten your front leg to what honors you. Rounding your back, letting your upper body hang. Now I want you to notice how this particular position feels. We're going to bend our front knee, lift our chest, walk our hands up to our front thigh, and then come all the way up, straightening our front leg. Notice the length of your stance. If it feels wide, your heel doesn't feel like it can be firm on the floor, walk your back foot in, check in with the width. If it needs to go wider, walk your feet out wider. Then we're going to keep the front leg straight and hinge forward from our hips. Keep a flat back so that you notice where you run out of room from your hip. Still keeping that flat back. Noticing if you begin to let go a little bit. May not be immediate. And then round your back, lowering down. Noticing if this version feels a little bit different, maybe a little bit better for your body. Remembering that as we explore these positions, it's not about right or wrong, but about what fits your body. The goal here is to find a stretch in the back of our left thigh, maybe in through our glute and our low back. It's also part of our goal to find mindfulness in our body and in the movements we make, just as much as the positions we arrive in. Keeping that in mind, bend our front knee, walk our hands up our front leg, hug our belly in, come all the way up. And then we're going to push off from our back foot and step forward. Inhale, rise all the way up. Exhale, bend our knees and fold. Step our left foot back. We're going to start from the folded position. Letting our upper body hang. Notice how it feels. Remembering the goal of finding the stretch in the back of our right thigh, through our glute, into our low back. Then bending our front knee, press our front foot into the floor for stability. Walk our hands up our front leg, come all the way up. Check in with your stance. Does it feel wide, narrow, long, short? Make any adjustments. Then keeping our front leg straight, let's hinge forward from our hips. Keep a flat back. Once you run out of room, I want you to hold. And we're just going to explore this range of motion that we found. Noticing if our body begins to let go. And then folding and relaxing. Bending our front knee, push our front foot into the floor, walk our hands up, moving with core strength and stability. Push off from our back foot, step forward. Inhale, sweep our hands up. Exhale, fold. Letting our upper body hang. Walk both feet back. Lower all the way down to our bellies. Bending our knees, draw our heels towards our glutes. Let our hands come down underneath our forehead. And pause. Noticing how it feels to lengthen the front of our thighs. Then begin to rock our feet side to side, keeping our feet moving together. And you can rest one foot on the inside of your thigh, your ankle, and kind of let your legs slide down the inside of your lower leg. From your ankle all the way down towards your knee. And then bringing our feet back to center. Walk our knees in to touch, and then let both of our feet fall away from each other. Let them soften towards the long edges of our mat. Lifting our feet up, put our feet down on the floor, and take a moment to let our legs relax, letting our hips soften. Then walking our hands around to the side of our chest, hug our bellies in, press up and back to child's pose. From child's pose, lift our elbows, lift our head, walk our hands over to the left. And then lower down if it feels good for you, or stay lifted and place a block underneath your forehead or underneath your chest. Whatever feels the best that supports your body. And lifting our elbows, lift our head, walk our hands back to center and then over to the right. And same options apply. You can lower down, you can stay lifted, you can use a block, a blanket, or a towel. Rising back up, walking our hands back to center, lowering down and pausing. Walk our hands back underneath our shoulders, press up. We're going to flip over into Shavasana, final relaxation. So bring any props along that you need, anything to stay warm, support the back of your knees, which supports your low back. And then we're going to lie down on our back, bringing our arms to our side, closing our eyes. drawing our awareness back to our bodies. Invite movement in any fashion you choose. Then bending our knees, let's roll over to our right side. Press ourselves up. Find our way back to a comfortable seat. As we rise up tall through our spine, let's notice how we feel. Bringing our hands together in front of our heart, sealing in all that we found in this practice of mindfulness and movement, of exploring self, how we move, not just through the muscles and the strength and the flexibility, but how we move through our nervous system, how we breathe, how our energy feels, how we honor that within our bodies. Take all of that as a gift that we place in our hearts, that we can take off of our mat into our day-to-day life, into the moments when we need it. And now we can bring it back to our mat as a practice of continually learning about self. Namaste.